Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As Malcolm has so kindly introduced me, I work for the Department of International Trade, and we are the export arm of the British government. Our job is quite simple. It comes under our branding. Exporting is great. It's not an issue. It's not a problem for you. And going forward, it's something I'm going to hopefully allay any fears you may have or open opportunities you want to look at. That is about what we are. So we have overall responsibility for promoting US trade across the world. This involves all sectors, but particularly going forward, we're going to have a particular emphasis on the seafood industry. A, because of where we are in Yorkshire and the Humber, and we are sectorial and regional led. So there's a person like me in most of the regions throughout the United Kingdom. So don't be put off if it's just Yorkshire and Humber. If you're from outside of the region, slides and contact details will be available later. There will be somebody in your region that can help you. And it goes the same for Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Our mission statement from our leaders down in London. Again, that is on Yorkshire and the Humber, but it's the same for most of the regions we're talking about. So the benefits of exporting. Now, just on a quick rough count, how many people here are already exporting or are looking at exporting? Wow. Only one. Is it because the rest of you aren't involved in exporting or you don't want to be involved?
Not yet.
Not yet. That's what we like to hear. That's exactly what we like to hear, the reason why we're going to help you. So, this is based upon what our companies we're working with in the past have done, what they're telling us, and the reasons and benefits for exporting. I won't read them out because you can read them far quicker than I can just say them to you. So the idea is, exporting should not be an issue for you in any manner or way. It's another customer. It's further away. There may be some language difficulties, some financial, not difficulties, financial models you've got to look at. But we're here to help open those doors for you. And I'm going to go through in a minute a couple of ideas on how we do this. Now, this is quite interesting. This is, again, is for Yorkshire and the Humber, so forgive me if you're from outside of the region. But this is the top 10 target markets that companies have rung in the last year to our offices, our head offices in Barnsley, Leeds and Hull, and the countries they're inquiring from. So this is the top 10 table. If you can't read, I'll read it out to you. Number one is still the USA. By a real margin, America, United States, is the number one inquiry for food and drink exports from our region. Germany, France, China, Australia, United Arab Emirates, but that's really a funnel into the Middle East market, and I'll go through that later with you. The Netherlands, India growing fast and coming into the top 10, Republic of Ireland, historically as we know, and Japan. Now, I asked Malcolm earlier when we were going through this, and that about 70% mirrors fish exports as well in those markets, which is quite interesting from our point of view, because that's covering all food and drink from our region. This again is based upon the phone calls and inquiries into our office team of the challenges that you think that are stopping you exporting or causing you concerns. And the number one, again, this is in this percentage is going down, market intelligence. What's in what country? What's my products? How do I get there? All those sort of things come into it. Second, and that's coming into this is 6 months now, website developments jumped into there because of the huge influx of e-commerce and international trading through websites. That's now come into our questions. Finance, I'll go through that later on the finance opportunities open, again through DIT and its partner, United Kingdom Export Finance. And right smack bang in the middle is finding customers, finding partners. And that is where we help. We have food and drink experts in 57, 60-odd countries now, where there's a dedicated food and drink person that's there in our embassies or abroad to help you. We have direct contact with them at events we go to, at trade shows. They come over here to the UK, we bring them up to our regions, and they have a wealth of knowledge for you to go into. Now, some of this is, of course, free, because it's just intelligence for you. Further down the line, there is a sort of a pay-as-you-get information service from the government, because government needs you to be committed and involved, as the mantra goes. So, They're the barriers and the problems. How are we overcoming these? And what are we doing with you to help you get your products around the world? And again, I'm going to run through all of these so you understand what they are. I've already gone through trade advisors. Trade advisors in every region, 10 regions in the United Kingdom. So again, contact me if you're outside of our region. I'll give you the person you need to talk to in your region. Most of us, 90% of us, come from the industry background. So we're not civil servants. We've been there. We've gone through the hardship of a business, running a business, trying to understand what you need. So we should be able to emphasize with you on what you want to do. As I said, the last 18 months, year, e-commerce has become a huge part of trading abroad. Now, we in Yorkshire and the Humber and in our sister regions as well have recruited international e-commerce advisors, people from the background that have worked in e-commerce and on IP. They're now working full-time for us. We send them in to you. They do a routine check with you on your e-commerce setup, your websites. He'll spend a couple of hours with you and whoever's running your e-commerce site, if it's not your good self, to understand what you're doing and how to advise you to get that fit for exporting. The keywords you need to put into, the search engines you need to be into, the language you need to use. Completely free. And then we can move on to how we can help you grant-wise as well. That horrible word grant, but there is some around, which is everybody's interested now. We run seminars throughout the region, probably once every 2 weeks. We're doing something in and around Yorkshire and the Humber on finding agents, e-commerce, trading abroad, labelling, laws, repatriation of profits, how to get paid, how to locate distributors. That's all part of the workshops that we do. They're free to attend, and again, they're on our website, so you don't have to write everything down. You can get my slides afterwards, and it'll tell you how you go to it. And there's some people here that have mentioned what they've been doing and how they've been doing it. And we have a website that runs through. You link on, you just book into it, and just come and listen to what we have to say to you, but meet people like yourselves that want to export as well, which is also important. Trade missions. In food and drink, and also particularly in seafood, I believe, and the rest of our team, the trade missions are a key part of finding your overseas market. We do trade missions across the world from most of the regions, and I'll run through later on some of those where we're going to do. We'll take you over there. You'll be with us. We'll produce brochures, send it out to our teams abroad to track the right buyers to come into. We'll take you around the stores. We'll try to take you around the distributors to understand what's going on there, to immerse you in the culture of that country and the trading operations of how they behave and what they want to do. Try and put you in front of some of the local experts as well that we will bring in to talk to you when you're on those trade missions with us, so you're not left alone. These are some of the shows I've done in the last couple of months. Everything is branded under Food is Great. I'm going forward. I understand that's going to continue. I'm asking Tony Lamb here, he's DIT London, who helps guides us on most of our things over there. So Food is Great is what we exhibit under across the world. It's becoming known as the brand for British food. Now, I don't need to tell you about it. British food and drink has a very, very good reputation abroad. The standards we operate in, and we're not going to be xenophobic in any manner here, are light years ahead of most other countries. Whether we like our supermarkets or not, they have driven a culture into this country of BRC, SALSA, accreditation, transparency, open book accounting, all the things that we need to do. They have raised the standards here without a shadow of doubt that makes our food and drink manufacturing the envy of the world. I go abroad to trade missions all over, and the questions I get asked by the major buyers abroad are your guys BRC? What level are they operating to? British Retail Consortium, SALSA. Again, the standard that we put in Britain has been adopted through the world. And the overseas retailers, buyers, food service people are looking for that safety as well. That is where we come from. We make the rules, and 99.9% of the time, we obey them. We've been to some horror stories abroad. We've all heard it, how double standards, but that's That's the way it is. But we will keep those standards up, and we at DIT will use those standards as a selling point when we're abroad for you. And it's vitally important to us. This again is Paris, one of the shows. This is Gulf Foods. This is the DIT stand at Gulf Foods in Dubai. 41 companies we took over there. Organised visits to the 5 biggest retailers, 2 food service, the 2 biggest buying for the hotel chains, Emirates Airlines. When we take over 30 or 40 of you, we can capture those sort of audiences that we can sit down and they'll give a presentation to you like I'm doing now, what they want to do on a one-to-one basis. That's how we facilitate these meetings through our embassies on our posts abroad and the work we do in the UK, in our regions and in London, when London opens the doors for us as well. This is our mobile Arctic that we take around the United Kingdom. We take it to major events. Inside, it's fully IT set up, connected to the world. It's got massive screens over it. We put the presentations to it. We link up with webinars abroad to our people if the time zone's okay, to talk to the country we need to talk to, get our people over there for you. It's a resource we use quite a lot of. Another event we find that's working quite well is using, our budgets are limited and squeezed like everybody. We find a very important way of getting people in front of you is to invite our buyers over to the United Kingdom. We put a package together for them. We assist them in some way, maybe on their hotels or their flights, and we'll stick them in a city, hopefully in the north. They come to London. We drag them out of London. No disrespect to Tenny, but we don't want everything staying down in London. They have to know there's a big wild world outside. Most of the manufacturing is done outside, but we don't let them know that. So we bring them over. We give you tabletops or something in a room like this, and we just put the buyers into the room with you. And they're just walking around talking to you. What have you got? What's your product like? Beforehand, we've preempted them with your product range. They've identified who they want to talk to. Now, from your point of view, we can put 12, 14, 18 buyers in front of you over a day and a half, somewhere in the Yorkshire region. Again, looking going forward, we're thinking of splitting that into sectors for Yorkshire and the Humber, because the key sectors here, as you know, Yorkshire Humber, seafood, alcohol, believe it or not, specialities, and free from are the 4 key areas in Yorkshire and the Humber at the moment where we are really leading the way on what we're doing in our food and drink industries. So we brought over buyers from supermarkets abroad, distributors, hotel chains. We keep them together. We give them, like Seafish is doing here, an evening of meeting people, and they go back, and then we follow it up. If there's an interest with you and you want to go in that particular country, you work with us or your respective people in whichever area you are, and we will get you back over to that country using some grant money, if it's available and you fit the criteria, so you can actually go over there and see what they're doing and take that export step a little bit further. Northern Powerhouse has its own set of funding from the government. So that's, if you do or don't know, that's really from the Manchester, right across the Leeds area, right up to Newcastle. Whole Northern Powerhouse is becoming an exporting entity on its own. The government has ring-fenced a certain amount of money for it, and we are using the Northern Powerhouse brand, that lovely little blue, exciting bit in the corner, which took 9 months to agree from various people. And that tells us that we're Northern Powerhouse, which is wonderful. But the good news for people in the Northern Powerhouse region is that money is there for taking you overseas and for using that money to promote the Northern Powerhouse region and its brands. So we have when we go abroad now, we're actually branding some of our overseas trade shows under Northern Powerhouse. And using that, again, to show that we are a centre of manufacturing excellence in our region, and they should come here to look for their products and their import aspirations. Funding's available, but that again is sectorial based and also a bit of a postcode lottery where your postcode is and what you want to do. But I can run through that with you on a later date. Trade Show Access Programme, TAP. So if you're attending, we get you further down the line and you want to go and attend a trade show. You want to actually take a stand there and put your products in front of the people around the world. If it's one of the approved programs through DIT, there's Trade Show Access Programme money that will pay 50% or up to £3,000 towards your stand space to get you to that country, for you to build your stand, get your stuff there, market it and do the things you need to do. Again, that'll be linked in again to our team that's over there with you. As it says, read through what you need to do with it, And that's how we run that on the trade shows. A big one in next week is Cial in Paris. I don't know if people are going to know about it. The World Food and Drink Show in Paris. 142 British companies exhibiting. Biggest trade show in the world this year. We go straight over to North America in November. We're taking a big trade mission over there. FHC Shanghai at the end of November. Again, meeting distributors, buyers, seeing what's over there. And there's funding towards attending these on a program that we work with you. It goes quiet in December because you're all too busy making money at Christmas and all that sort of thing, and nobody wants to see me or talk to me. Then we wake up again in January and February, and we start again with another road of trade shows and exhibitions around the world. And the plan is now, as we are cementing more and more relationships with Malcolm and his team at Seafish, we will work closely with you to try and tailor in with the areas you want to go to that are specifically seafood, not general. Although, if you went to Cial, the seafood hall in Cial has probably 900 exhibitors in it, just in seafood. So the bigger shows are for you as well, and you'll find more of the buyers there that you will need to talk to about it as well. OMIS, the government loves these little abbreviations. So, OMIS. You've got a country you're particularly interested in, and you need some information about that country. So through our embassies, again, as I mentioned, throughout the world, we have food and drink teams throughout the world, or through the chambers or the commerce in those areas. We draw up a program for you. You give us a list. It's all done through the internet electronically for you. And you want to know about, let's take, for example, we'll go frozen seafish goujons into Indonesia. You want to know the regulations about it. Is there a market? Who are the players? What's in the market? What's it all about? We'll put all of that on the document that goes into our embassy abroad. They will look at what your request is. They'll formulate a work plan around it and send back a quote to you, which is heavily subsidized by us. And then you will have a report back within 2, 3, 4 months, depending on the time scale or the difficulty of your report, that answers all the questions that you've asked. If you don't like it, you can grumble to us and we'll knock them for not giving you the message you want. But we put it down specifically what you want to know about that country. It can be multiple countries. I've got companies that are looking at the Far East market. They're doing Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, and Singapore. And they're following up. They're doing this research. Is my product here? What is it? Who are the competitors? What's needed? And then they follow up with a visit when they get their information back, assisted by us and using our people on the ground to work with you. Funding. This was going to be a very quick slide, but the good news is that as of last week, before that, we had a real issue working closely with you in the seafood industry because you're separate funding. And under the great European rules, we could not work with a lot of you because you were deemed to be funded already and or in a sector that was ineligible to us. Having fought and raged for 10 or 12 months now, we finally, it's unbelievable, it was a bit of a push last week, got agreement from the ERDF, the European, because it's European funding we're using for this, to say that we can support the seafood people now. The good news. Bad news is we've got to spend it in 7 months before we come out of Europe. In the Humberside area, we can match fund you a grant of £2,000 per your project you're looking at, and outside of the Humberside area, £3,000. So basically you spend £4,000 on your opportunity or where you want to go, we will pay £2,000 of that back to you on your return. How it works is quite complicated, and hopefully when I'm talking to some of you later, we can talk about how we do it. But in a nutshell, there's a registration document you and I fill out. It makes sure you're eligible, you're in the right postcode. We agree, rubber stamp it. Document 2, you put down what you want to do and where you're going. So I want to see Indonesia, I want to fly. We'll follow on from my example of Indonesia. I want to go into Indonesia and it's going to cost me £900 in flight, £400 in my hotel, 50 quid for car hire and £150 for a translator, bill 3,500 quid. Well, we rubber stamp that. You provide some little invoices, quotes, up front, just a couple of quotes for us. We say yes, you go off, do your visit, working with our teams in that country. When you come back, you give us your invoices that match the quotes you've done, and we will pay you by backs for 50% of the money. That can work in any country, any product, or what you want to do. As long as it's deemed to be in the interest of export, and you're going to create some form of employment down the line. Projects and plans have to be in by the 31st of March, and you must complete them all by the end of July next year, because that's our 3 months after whatever happens on the 31st of March, and I'm not privy to those secrets, but that at the moment is what's going to happen. That's the funding I have that we can use to take you around the world. And it says trade shows, travels, all those things in there. If you want to internationalize your website, again, we call in our e-commerce expert. They give you the advice. It's going to cost you 3,000 quid to do your website. We'll pay £1,500 of it, as long as it's internationalization of your website under that grant, under the 3,000 or 2,000 we can max for you. That's just under the Exporting is Great brand, making sure the 3 categories that we deem you to be under in our region, which is no exporting at all, occasionally non-reactive. By regular, they mean that you're actually engaged or doing something. It's only our government parlance, and we will put you into one of those 3 tiers. It doesn't affect what we do with you. The great gov.uk trade profile. This is really, really easy for you to do. And again, don't have to write it all down, I'll tell you all about it. The government website is linked into all of the countries around the world. If an opportunity comes up that mentions Seafish goujons, frozen fish, whatever, if that name, that keyword comes up, it will come back in and be linked into you. Register yourself on this website, spend 5 or 10 minutes just putting your products and your areas of interest into it, and any alerts that come in from any of our embassies around the world, you will get, and we'll get as well, and we can work with you. Again, on the e-commerce line, exporting online, the government is putting a huge push into this. It's probably used as probably not selling your fish online because of the issues and stuff about it, but for connecting with people and following it up later. Having said that, the smoked salmon business is doing very, very well at the moment by e-exporting around Europe and across the world. This is the export opportunities, again, on the Great Gov website. Again, completely free. Something free from the government, which is wonderful and should not be looked at. But again, just register here, your products, your names. If you want assistance or understand a bit more about it, give me a ring, we'll go through it with you. But it's a very, very simple process to go through. And then you're to the attention of most of our countries around the world. And the areas you're in or the countries you're in, fill in as much information and find opportunities. These are people that we've taken around the world and what we've done with them. And it's a good time to export. There's never been a better time to export. Great Britain, the brand, is, for reasons we know, very high on the agenda. We're getting daily inquiries from abroad for people wanting to know about our products, what we can do. Our trade show program, visiting abroad, getting people over here. It is wonderful at the time. If you're thinking now of going to exporting, I would say come and talk to us, please, because there are so many doors we can open, so many things we can help you do. It's not going to be easy. Exporting isn't easy. It's like a new customer, isn't it? You've got to check them out, make sure they're okay, you're going to get paid, etc. So it's the same with exporting. There's a bit more help for you, and we'll try to protect you and take you through those steps to make sure everything's okay. If it's a big project and capital or finance is an issue, the government has United Kingdom Export Finance, its own virtual export bank. We have recruited bankers, again, it's done by region, from most of the international trading banks. They're now embedded and working at UKEF, and their job is to make sure that no export does not happen because of lack of finance. This was a really big issue earlier. We're getting finance for it. So as I go here, they'll check out your customers, credit agency. They work with your banks. If you have an issue, then our guys will come in. As I said, they're all banking backgrounds, and try to work through that problem to make sure we get your stuff over there. That just says what their mission is about and how they can do. The best one is bottom, insure against buyer default. Hopefully we've checked the buyers out for you. You have a relationship. but that's the last stop. If it is of a significant amount of money, will impact upon your business, this is something that we can look at as well with our bankers. It's, again, quite a well-kept secret. It's an enormous financial institution. It has serious backing from the government, and our ministers, again, have said, this is here to provide money for our exporters. They don't want to hear of an export order not happening because one of our banks wouldn't finance it, or you were having trouble with a customer abroad, or something like that. We've done all the bloody hard work. We've taken you around the world. We've got your website ready. We've got everything done and dusted, and it falls at the last hurdle because we can't get paid or we can't sort you out. This is where this comes in. Robin and his team will come down and see you at your premises and talk it all through and understand what you need to finance your export order. This is by 2020. This is the amount the British government is said they're going to provide to the export side for us to hit these targets in 2020, when whatever happens next year happens, whichever way we're going. That is the sort of level of funding that's around there. It's a colossal amount of money, but it's going down to £50,000 to guarantee, down to those sort of levels to make sure we help you export. It's not all about multi-million pound deals. 80% of the exports are SMEs, not multinationals. And that's where we have to be working with you. Basic figures, basically, on saying how they're going to do. And that's DITs to help you export, UKEFs to get you over there to make sure you get paid. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to export, talk to us. We're here. We do have some knowledge. We do have a little bit of experience around the world. And we can help you in those countries. And let's get British seafood back into #1. Thank you very much indeed.